अगं मी अभ्यास करतोय.
अभ्यास चाललाय जा बघू. WCC नजारा मल्टीप्लेअर आहे का बाळा? आहे. एक मिनिट थांब मी पण एकच मिनिट थांबच आता जरा. स्टार्ट.
Yes. अरे यार आपल्याला परचेस करायला लागेल.
कर बिंदास पॉकेट मनी मधनं हवंय तेवढं परचेस कर. गो ऑन. Hey folks, CA Rachna Ranade here and I welcome you all to a next gen stock video. Now what is this concept? A next gen stock is a stock in which I would want to invest so that not me but my next gen, my son would reap benefits from the positive trajectory of this sector or of this specific company. In this video, we are going to witness the paradigm shift in what happened in the entire gaming industry over the past few years. And today's focus is going to be on a game-changing stock, pun intended, which is no one but Nazara Technologies. Let me remind you all one more time that all these creative people are spammers. That's how my account looks like. Also remember, I never give my mobile number in any chat. I neither have an advisory nor do I give any stock tips. So as usual, let's start with what does the company do? I can say that the company has two segments. One is diversified gaming and the other one is sports media platform. In diversified gaming, the very first one is gamified early learning. Now, the moment I talk about gamified learning, I'm sure you can recollect something like Byju's. So one of the analysts had asked this question to the management that how is your gamified learning different from Byju's? In that the answer was that in Byju's focus is more on education and very less on gaming. But for us, whenever we talk about Kidopia, which is their gamified learning platform, in that the focus is more on gamification and a little bit less on education, right? The second one is esports. Esports is something, now you can imagine something like a form of competition using video games wherein people will play with each other with internet as a platform, right? That is esport. The third one is skill-based fantasy, trivia, real money gaming, and I'm sure everyone knows about Dream 11. That is an example of skill-based fantasy or real money gaming, right? Next one is freemium model. Now, what is freemium? Freemium is made up of two words, free plus premium is equal to freemium. Okay, the example that I gave in the pre-bumper, which was what? Which was WCC. That is an example of freemium kind of a business model. And the last one is telco subscription. Now, what is this telco subscription? This company has made a tie-up with various telecom companies wherein they would provide value-added services through something like Games Hub, Games Club, and few more. Let's move on. The next one is sports media platform. And in the same category of esports, we have Sportskeeda. Now, what is this? It's the largest news destination website in India, which provides news not only about normal sports, but obviously also about esports. So one important point before I wrap up this section of what does the company do, you might be wondering that there are so many sub-segments for this company. How did the company go into so many segments? For that, they have done a lot of acquisitions. How did the company enter the gamified early learning platform? They acquired Paperboat, and Paperboat is ka subsidiary is Kidopia. Okay, so was it 100% acquisition? No, it's like a 50.91% acquisition in Paperboat. How did they enter esports? By acquiring Nordwin. How did they enter skill-based fantasy? By acquiring HelaPlay. Okay, percentages are different. You can check it in the graph. But that's how they have gone by acquiring more and more apps, more and more companies and entering into a multiple segment. Well, I hope you have understood what does the company do. Now, if anyone asks you, dude, what does Nazara Technologies actually do? You'll be able to give at least a 2-minute speech on this. Yes? Fantastic. I hope you have also understood that the company has gone in acquiring multiple companies and has gone really fast in the business game as well. Now, gaming as an industry, how did it grow? How did it start? How did it grow? Were there any ups and downs and so many more questions? All this, let's understand in a fun-filled manner. It all began between 1950s and 1960s with the introduction of Space Wars. It was a game that could be played at terminals with access to the mainframe computers. In 1972, Pong became the first commercially successful arcade game. Then in 1978, Space Invaders reinvigorated the arcade market. I'm sure all the millennials and Gen X people have surely played Space Invaders. In 1980 came Pac-Man, which generated more than $1 billion in arcade sales in the United States in just 1 year. In 1985, Nintendo Entertainment Systems and Super Mario Bros. Ruled the gaming world. Around 2000, it was the rise of internet and mobile which changed the game for the gaming industry, wherein the revenue of this industry went up from tens of billion dollars to hundreds of billion dollars. In 2002, Microsoft launched Xbox Live, a subscription-based service for online multiplayer gaming which popularized through its Halo series. In 2006, EA Sports Cricket, which was one of the most popular cricket simulation games on Windows games, was released. But in 2007, Apple's iPhone just changed the game. It solidified the transition of gaming to a mobile platform. The company's release of App Store for its smartphones, which was followed by Google's Play Store, paved the way for app developers to create free, paid, and pay-per-feature games that catered to a mass market. Whee! Yes, 2009, that was the year when Angry Birds for mobile became the most downloaded freemium game and launched a media franchise. In 2012, Candy Crush Saga for mobile popularized limited plays and in-app monetization. मिळाला का तो? Pikachu मिळाला का? Yes, 2016, Pokemon Go, an augmented reality mobile game, reached 500 million downloads in just 1 year. I hope you have understood how we have transitioned from an pixelated environment to the latest cloud, VR, AR era, wherein in 2020 Microsoft, Nvidia, Google and Amazon have launched their cloud gaming services. I hope till now you have understood how fast the company has grown. What is the strategy? Acquire an existing player, go into that area and go ahead, right? Are there any recent acquisitions of the company as well? Answer is yes. Recently, they acquired a 69.82% stake in PublishMe, which is a full-service games marketing and publishing agency. Now, why did they do this acquisition? They wanted to establish themselves as a key player in Turkey and MENA region. Now, what is this MENA region? It is Middle East and North African region, right? Now, just in the previous week, that is on 17th September, Nodwin Gaming... What Nodwin? In the previous segment only we talked about the fact that Nazara has more than 50% stake in Nodwin, as good as its subsidiary, right? So that Nodwin Gaming has signed a deal of 73 crore rupees to acquire gaming and adjacent IPs of the business of OML Entertainment. Now, just in case those who don't know what is OML Entertainment, it's a media and entertainment company. It's very well known for managing YouTube creators like Tanmay Bhatt, Samay Raina, and they are also very famous for owning and executing IPs such as Bacardi, NH7 Weekender, LOL Stars, Hip Hop League and few more. And they have also worked with biggest brands like Levi's, Music Week and YouTube Fan Fest. In fact, Nodwin and OML have also worked together in the past, and this deal will help them to enhance their existing esports like DreamHack and Indian Premiership. Now let's move on with the discussion as to why I believe that gaming is really the next big thing. The very first thing is obviously the increasing per capita income. Everyone knows that in India, a lot of population is a working population right now. Now with men, women both working, the per capita income is ought to increase. Second one is the increase in smartphone penetration. Just have a look at this chart. Our smartphone penetration, which was just at 52% back in 2016, is at 78% in 2020 and is expected to go to 90% by 2023. More and more smartphones obviously is going to be a positive sign for the gaming industry. Third one is release of 5G and unlimited data plans. Obviously, more and more usage of 5G will have better games, and all in all, again, a positive sign for the industry. Digitally matured Gen Z population, which engages more than the millennial generation or Gen X. So I can very well correlate with this point, because when I was actually trying to research about this, it was so hard for me to really visualize what is esports and all that. But the team members in my organization who are in their 20s are like, "She, ma'am, you don't know about this or what? It's very famous." Like, okay, take it. Right. Now just have a look at this chart also. You can see that Gen Z and millennial population in India almost accounts for 65% of the total Indian population. And last but not the least, an important point, which is increasing mobile gaming. How far has it increased? In 2016, 50% of the Indian gaming market was captured by mobile gaming. In 2020, 77% was captured by mobile gaming, and by 2023, it is expected to grow to 88%. Well, there are a few more points, but we'll take that in the next part of the video. Let's move on with some additional points with respect to the Indian gaming scenario. Have a look at this chart. You can see here I'm comparing Bollywood industry with gaming industry. Of course, Bollywood is an outright winner, right? Wait, have a look. In 2016, gaming was just 25% of Bollywood industry. But since then, it grew at a rate of 28.9% CAGR till 2020. In 2020, it was the first time that gaming surpassed Bollywood industry. Of course, I feel that Corona might be one of the big reasons for this heavy impact. But from 2020 to 2023, it is estimated that gaming as an industry might grow at a CAGR of 32.6%. And in 2023, it is expected that gaming might be at 3.5, whereas Bollywood might be at 2.7. What? 3.5 US billion dollars versus 2.7 US billion dollars. Isn't that a huge chunk? Yes. If I talk about overall online gamers in India, currently Indian gamers are expected to grow from 360 millions in 2020 to 510 millions in 2022. Now, what do these gamers do? Do they have any career opportunity? Absolutely yes. I'm sure you might have heard about gamers like Mortal who are making their full-time career in gaming. If I talk about investors in gaming, are there people who are investing their money? Yes. Sequoia Capital and Kalari Capital have increased their investment by 78% during 2020 to 173 USD million dollars. Again, that's a huge chunk. In fact, there are also over 400 gaming startups in India, and they are also expected to accelerate in the coming few years. Is government also supporting this? Absolutely yes. In fact, in one of the recent speeches, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that we are expecting that the gaming portrays India's culture. Right now, there are a lot of games wherein only dishum dishum, only violence is a part of games. He has really requested a lot of gaming developers to portray our Indian culture through various online games. Let's talk about a short but an interesting point regarding the challenges that this industry faces. The very first one is revenue share disputes with app stores, whether it be a Google Play Store or an App Store, whatever. Second one is policy changes, again on App Store as well as Play Store. The third one is an interesting point wherein we talk about bifurcation of a game, whether it's a game of skill or whether it's a game of chance. Now you might be like, what is the big deal? Whatever it is, the classification, it's okay, na? No. If it is a game of skill, then GST is charged at a lower rate as compared to a game of chance. Nazara Tech was founded by Mr. Vikash, who is the chairman and managing director of the company, and Mr. Nitish, who is the joint managing director, and they started this company in 1999. I can say that they are the pioneers of Indian online gaming industry. Currently, the company has 62.59 million average monthly active users for financial year 2021, and with a growth rate of 56% on a year-on-year basis. They also enjoy distribution pipeline networks with 52 telecom companies in 58 countries, including Africa, Middle East, and South Asia. For the next 2 minutes, I want your 100% attention because that's where you are going to understand about the business model of Nazara. The very first segment is gamified early learning segment, which contributes to 40% revenue as at Q1 FY22. Have we already talked about this? Yes, we have talked about all the segments, but we are just going one step in detail, right? How have they entered this segment? By entering through Kiddopia. Remember, I talked about Kiddopia versus Byju's, same segment. How do they earn through Kiddopia? It's a subscription based model. So if I'm talking about subscription based model, you have to understand how many subscribers do they have. So have a look at this data point. Kiddopia had 3,21,763 paying subscribers as of June 2021, which is a 25% increase in number of paying subscribers as compared to June 2020, which was at 2,57,413 subscribers. Activation ratio from free trial to subscription has remained around 70% in Q1 FY22. My God, that's a huge ratio. Second one is esports, which contributes to 41% of the revenue. By the way, all revenues are as at Q1 FY22, right? Now, what is the select offering? It's Nodwin Gaming and Sportskeeda. How do they earn out of this? Number one, media rights, brand sponsorships, and advertisements. So if I talk about Nodwin Gaming, it mainly continues to be the dominant player in esports with its marquee IPs like ESL, India Premiership, Dew Arena, DreamHack, and few more. If I talk about Sportskeeda, it's a leading sport and e-news destination which has MAU, what is that? Monthly active users growth of 254% on a year-on-year basis and 21% growth on a QOQ basis. Now, an amazing data point again. It's because of the cricket season in April 2021. Sportskeeda recorded 59.61 million monthly active users, which is up from 23.51 million active users in June 2020. Cricket fever in India is at a different level only, right? Next one is the freemium segment, wherein we talk about WCC, Real, Carom TT, and few more. The revenue model is in-app purchases and advertisements. Remember in the pre-bumper, I was telling Meg, "Arey, karo purchase or karo." So that was like an example of an in-app purchase. WCC is the world's largest cricket simulation game franchise on mobile, and it is played for 47 minutes per day by 13.25 million monthly active users. That's a crazy data. And it gets downloaded by 1,20,000 users every day, and that too organically. Kya baat hai? Next one is telco subscription, which contributes to 14% of the revenue. Here offerings are Games Hub, Games Club, and few more. What is the revenue model? It's partnership with telecom operators. What are the special points? Nazara has acquired rights to distribute a library of premium Disney and Star Wars, making them the only third-party distributor of Disney on telco channels. And the last one is comparatively a smaller one, which is skill-based fantasy and trivia real money gaming, which contributes to barely 2% of the revenue. Offerings are Halaplay and Konami, and the revenue model is platform fee collected from games played on the platform. Now let's quickly discuss about the revenue mix of this company. If I'm talking about freemium first, freemium revenue mix has gone down from 8% to 4%. Why? Because the WCC revenues were flat in financial year 2020-21 on account of drop in advertising rates in India, obviously due to COVID. If I go on to the telecom subscription, again in this category, you'll see that the revenue mix has dropped from 33% to 16% because of two reasons. In India, the decline was mainly due to a business decline. And if I'm talking about decline in countries, in various African countries like Kenya and Nigeria, and also in Nepal, the negative impact was due to new regulatory process implemented in those countries. If I talk about sports fantasy, again you can see that sports fantasy also has witnessed a big disruption in FY 2021 on account of lack of live matches in first half of 21 and also because of the regulatory turbulence. One amazing point you can see here is about the gamified learning. Gamified learning has gone up from 8% to 39% in the revenue mix. Now you might be wondering how did this happen? Because in January 2020 they acquired Kiddopia, and Kiddopia has a big presence in North America. Now have a look at this geography mix also. you can see that in FY20, the North America revenue share was just 12% and it has gone up to 42%. So I hope you are understanding this. Just with the acquisition of Kiddopia, their revenue mix has gone up from 8% to 39% and the geography mix from North America has gone up from 12% to 42%. I hope you have understood the importance of this Kiddopia acquisition. Moving on with the financials, we are going to talk about three important parameters: revenue, EBITDA and PAT. I'm talking about financial years 18, 19, 20 and 21. You can see that revenue has grown at a CAGR of 38.21%. EBITDA, there is a decline by 1.82% and PAT has grown at 137.1%. Now you can see that EBITDA numbers are having a bumpy ride. Why this is increasing and decreasing very rapidly? When I read in the con call transcript, I found that this number decreases or increases because of changes in advertising and business promotion expenses. If advertisement and business promotion expenses are really high, the EBITDA is going to go down. If this number decreases, EBITDA will increase. Okay, base logic. Second, if I talk about a quarterly analysis now, I'm talking about June 21 versus June 20, and also I'm going to talk about June 21 versus March 21. This is basically a QOQ and a YOY comparison, right? Here you can see that for a QOQ, revenue has gone up by 6.32%, EBITDA has gone up by 158.12%, PAT has gone up by 221.43%. What about YOY? YOY revenues have gone up by 44.97% and EBITDA and PAT have gone from negative numbers to positive numbers. Now let's have a look at this QOQ data, wherein I'm talking about EBITDA number, which has gone up from 117 million to 302 million. Again, when I was reading the con call transcript, I found one very interesting piece of information. The company says that Apple changed its privacy policy. They stopped giving numbers about click to trial to registration to subscription. That's a funnel. I hope you can visualize this. How many people clicked on the link? Out of that, how many went for a trial? Out of that, how many people registered? And out of that, how many people took a subscription? If this data itself Apple refused to give, these people reduce the amount of spending on advertisement on Apple platform. And that is the reason why EBITDA numbers increased a little bit, right? If I talk about ratio analysis, few ratios, promoter holding I can say is a point of concern because it's pretty low at 20.7%. Current ratio is very good at 2.71. Debt to equity, 0. So fantastic, as good as no debt. PE is huge at 736. That's a huge number. But again, no listed peers. That's why generally such companies which are like monopoly companies, no listed peers, in that case, they are having a high PE ratio in general. ROE, ROC figures are also very less. ROE, you can see 1.55% ROE and 2.82% ROC. That is also pretty less. But I try to compare it with global peers. Ubisoft Entertainment SA is a global peer for them. Their ROE is just 7.04%. Atari Incorporated is negative 18.4%. But Nintendo is having an ROE of 27.79%. So in future, if they do really well, maybe they have a scope to increase their ROE to a good number. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this gamified video. And if you have loved it, don't forget to share it with your friends, families. Until then, take care. Jai Hind and bye-bye.